Hello everyone. Before we jump in, if you enjoy weekly stock updates and real investing transparency, hit like, subscribe and comment what your take is on the stock right now. Alright, welcome back to the weekly series where I buy 10 shares of and now we are already at number 11 of this weekly series. Looks pretty good so far. It's getting very interesting recently. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the changes for this week. So first of all, let's start with the comments, which I got from my friend. The longer it stays depressed, the larger the eventual explosive move. Not every quarter will be positive, but the business itself is solid. At this valuation, they are buying back 15% of outstanding shares, net of SBC, a rate higher than any company has ever done. I replied, yeah, you're right, Venmo is solid too and still very much a grower. Braintree does a lot of work as well. PayPal itself does need to change, and I'm looking forward to how those former plans will be treated. So, we did get a few updates on this. Apparently the new CEO is going to continue with all these plans. The idea is that he's going to force those plans through with a bigger might and with a faster translation into the actual business. That's the plan from what I could read up of him so far. I'm not sure if this information is coming from him directly or where it's exactly from, but I've heard it from several sources up until now. So I do hope that this is true. However, I can't say for sure if that's really how things will plan out, since from my point of view, we haven't really heard much of him personally. So that's just my 2 cents on this end. And even though the guidance for 2026 looks rather grim, this for once could be that they are setting the bar for the new CEO very, very low. They did this for Alex Chris as well. And what they do is that the targets are set super low, and then the new CEO, when he does some changes, he's going to triple beat all those earnings, but naturally that's because they are set so low and not because they are actually doing this well. At least for now we can't tell for sure. The guidance in itself looks very bad, however that's just for the next year, and if some changes are going to be made to the business, Venmo grows continually, Braintree does some profitable growth in the next year, and PayPal in itself stays consistent with like maybe a slight growth, then I think we'll do pretty well. And if all those money, if all this cash is being spent on PayPal transforming into a more growth-oriented stock by them doing PayPal ads and all these other things, which would make sense that this is why they are guiding for such a bad earnings. Then I would be delighted, and I think that's money well spent on the business, because that's just going to pay out in future growth, and that's always much better than just having 1 year which looks good but isn't really good long term for the business. Also, as the guy says, the longer it's depressed, the larger the eventual explosive move, and the higher the opportunity for us that to buy more. I personally put some time into researching how I would value the company right now, and I do have to admit, not everything under $70, which used to be a quote for myself, just to hold myself accountable here, is going to be a buy for me. However, I do feel for as long as PayPal stays below $50, it's a blind buy for me. Like the company itself is so solid, it's doing so well in itself. Like, former concerns were that PayPal is shrinking, PayPal is decreasing, but they did do some strategic partnerships in other countries. You can now use PayPal seamlessly in lots of new countries and different areas of the planet that weren't really on the table formerly. So just in that matter, there's a room for growth just for the PayPal core business, just for the active users, which isn't really priced in yet at all. And for me personally, that's very important, that there is room for growth, that PayPal hasn't yet reached its zenith just yet, or its highest high in terms of active accounts. It's not sure if it really grows consistently now, but at least it stays on a somewhat decent level with over 400 million accounts. I think that's very good. And we're talking about active accounts too. Like, this is just purely active accounts. It's not accounts ever created or some shit. It's real accounts that are active, that are doing transactions. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's go to the stock price change over the last couple of days. So on a daily basis, PayPal went up 3% on Friday, which looks absolutely amazing. However, on a weekly basis, it barely moved at all. In my statistics from the numbers I took, it went down slightly. According to TradingView, it went up by 0.1% over the week. I think last time I made a bet saying I think PayPal is going to go up on the next week. I think this being flat, it's a tie, so can't really say for sure. Maybe over the next week will slightly rise. We'll see. I personally have made my thoughts clear, and I'm going to buy more PayPal shares. I'm not just going to stick to my investment and not just going to buy 10 per week. I'm even increasing the amount I buy per week. I try to buy at least 15 per week. Maybe I'll do more. I do get a pretty decent one-time payment next month from my job, so I can use a part of that as well. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to use it all at once, or I'm just going to boost my weekly purchases for a while. I think right now you can't really go wrong at these prices. We did dip in the $38 area this week, and funnily speaking, when I bought, it just went way lower on that day. So let's have a look into that. As you can see, on the 12th of February, I bought 15 shares for $39.89, and I think that same very day we went into the $38 range. Like right after I bought, it just went lower and lower that day. Yeah, I guess I did a very unlucky purchase, just speaking particularly on that day. I mean, now looking at how it went up above that at the end of the week, I think I did pretty decent. However, it could have been better. So yeah, looking quite good. The amount is stabilizing so far. I invested $8,202 up until this point. So just on a weekly basis, I increased my stake in PayPal by around $600. And now let's have a look at what it's worth and how things have changed. So I increased by 15, and the total amount that I possess right now is 150. Wow, that's quite a lot. Yeah, 150 shares that I own now, so that's a pretty cool number. That's probably worth celebrating. I mean, considering how I intended to buy just 10 shares a week, this is the amount we should be reaching by weekly number 15. However, we already reached it, and it's just weekly number 11. So I almost bought 50% more than I would have been required to. So that's quite nice. So as I said before, according to my numbers, the ones that I've written down, which I take from the weekly episodes, like the date of the recording. So the numbers might slightly differ, but it's pretty close to the ending, a closing price of Friday. So according to my price, the stock price went lower by 0.32%. So the percentage change since the start of this series, if you just look at the current price from the very first PayPal weekly, which aired on, which was taken on the 6th of December, which was at $62.28. according to today, is a negative 35.31% decrease. So just by that amount we went quite low. Naturally my loss is far lesser since I bought on a weekly basis, and this doesn't take dollar cost averaging into account. This is just to hold myself accountable since I've started this series. So basically when I started recommending the stock, it was at $62, and that's yeah, now gotten lower by 35%, which is quite a bit actually. So let's have a look into the net worth of my PayPal portfolio. So I told you earlier, guys, that let me just take another look. Yeah, I invested $8,200, and now it's just worth $6,000. So we made quite the unrealized loss. However, it's not looking as grave as it's seeming to be, since we didn't make that 35% loss. It's just like more or less a 20% loss, which is quite alright. I can take that. And looking at the juicy dividends that are just looking to come ahead every single quarter from now, and the very decent share buybacks, I think I can do pretty well with that, despite having this short-term unrealized loss. On a weekly basis, we went lower by $11.55, which leaves us with an unrealized loss of $2,158.80. Now let's look at the dividends and the expected dividends. If I remember correctly, the next ex-dividend date will be March 4th or 5th or something, so in like 2.5 weeks. And the projected monthly dividend we are receiving on average, if we just consider the amount I have right now, which is 150 shares, is $7, which is a projected dividend of $84, or a quarterly dividend of $21. So if my amount stayed the same over the next 2.5 weeks, I would get $21 as a dividend to my account, which I intend to fully reinvest to grow my position further. And at this current price point, this would be more than half a share, so that's not too bad, honestly. I can't wait to reach 1 share of yeah, you could say personal buyback of the stock by reinvesting the dividends. So now let's get to the news. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to update my sheet, so you have to stick with this one. Yeah, the next quarter results aren't quite just ahead. It takes a while until they hit us with those. However, there are a couple things that I want to mention here. So, news from myself. Last episode, I think, sounded a bit too depressing, like it wasn't meant to be that way. I only noticed like mid episode that my tone was a bit sadder than it was supposed to be, because it's actually a pretty good occasion to be able to buy PayPal at these very attractive price points. So naturally, the bull case for me has completely changed up. With Alex Chris not being on board anymore, that changes quite a bit, and with the new CEO there's a lot of uncertainty ahead, and the new CEO hasn't really had that good of a track record when it comes to change in a company. In PayPal, let's be honest, it doesn't need change. Venmo and Braintree, they don't need change, and they're part of PayPal stock as well. But the core business, which is PayPal, it does need to change a bit. It does need PayPal ads and all these other very juicy things, because it's just going to lead to so much more cash flow, so much more money coming in, and when we see even more money coming in, we have money that we can use for other purposes, which is, for example, having very nice, attractive bonus programs, bonus rewards, advertisements that bring in new people into PayPal, the whole PayPal business, PayPal world, all these cool things. And naturally, at the end of the day, it's going to increase profits as well, and having more profits, let's be honest, let's be real, it's never really a bad thing. So all those things are very nice to have, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to see that. A couple of other news that I would like to cover here is basically this week is sort of the aftershock from the Q4 report and the ugly 2026 outlook. Not too bad. I think we've probably seen the low. Unlikely that we see it or go even lower. It's possible, but I don't think we will. I think lowest we'll see is probably like $35. So Redburn stayed bearish. They cut their price target once again, and now it's like $32, which I think is yeah, I don't know why they cut it again. Doesn't really make sense to me, but they may do whatever they want to do. Goldman also put out a $41 target and accelerating at that, which kind of echoed through the week as well. So don't really have an opinion on that. I don't think that's bearish or bullish, kind of neutral, but yeah. I think news-wise, PayPal is doing quite decent, no bad news, sometimes also good news, and I think we'll stabilize from here and move up slowly in the long run. Anyway, that's it for this week's video. Naturally, I'm going to cover the next week as well, and I'm looking very much forward to see news in regards to Enrique Lores when we see it, and then naturally we'll see how this and everything will play out. I think I've seen a pretty decent stock-based compensation in his regard, which is going to be capitalizing on the fact that the stock rises. However, I'll get more into details with that in the future. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment on the video so I can cover the next video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks and goodbye.